Welcome to MegoMuseum's Vintage Mego, where we celebrate the golden age of the world's greatest toy company. This week, we're going to boldly go to strange new worlds with this look at the second series of Mego 8-inch Star Trek Aliens. So let's give a bit of a backstory. 1977 was the third year for Mego's Star Trek line of toys, and it showed no signs of slowing down. The show's reruns were so popular that at the time there was a lot of talk about a new series and a new network. This would all be great for Mego in the future. In 1976, Mego had expanded the figure selection to include 4 alien action figures, primarily based on characters that appeared in the series. I've done a video about the first wave, and I will put that here. Those aliens turned out to be a sales winner for Mego. And for 1977, the Mego Star Trek line would return. There were some electronic items like a calculator called a Treculator, an item called the Intergalactic Projector, and a second series of alien action figures. The second series consisted of 4 characters again, but one of the most exciting things about them is the shift in quality. They have dynamic-looking sculpts, more detailed outfits, and just an overall slicker look to them, in my opinion anyways. Even the card art was updated by the legendary Hal Shull, who was Mego's art director for a time. As for the accuracy to the series, well, that's another story. While this set contains figures that look like they just leapt right off the television, we also get a visit from our old friend, Artistic License.
Turn down for what?
So let's look at the characters and try to figure out the mindset for each one. The Andorian. While Andorians appeared more than once on the original series, it's safe to assume that this figure is based on the character Thalev, who appeared on the classic episode Journey to Babel, as the sculpt is definitely a likeness of actor William McConnell. Ironically, Thalev wasn't an Andorian at all, but an Orion spy merely surgically altered to look Andorian. His outfit is a decent approximation of the character's look on the series. The addition of gloves was an exciting touch by Mego, although to my knowledge they didn't ever wear them on the series. The Andorian stands as one of the nicest Mego figures ever produced. The only issue with him is this blue plastic they used for his body sometimes results in broken leg syndrome, especially on the card. We also see that with the Keeper. Talos. Talos is based on the classic 2-part episode, The Menagerie, which of course was made from the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage. Seeing as they appeared in the series' only 2-parter, it makes sense that they would be included due to a higher recognition factor. Mego did a really nice job on the head sculpt for the character. It's soft in some of the gorier, veiny details of the cranium, but again, this is a toy for children. Another really nice detail was its body. Mego used the smaller Lion Rock body that they also used for their World War II figures and the Teen Titans. This is a nice touch, as the Telosians were portrayed as smaller than humans and actually were mainly portrayed by women. The outfit, however, is another story. It's a bright yellow jumpsuit that some have dubbed a clown suit, and it's topped off with some bright red booties. It's one loud outfit and a far cry from the, kind of quiet light blue robes they wore on the series. Why would Mego make such a drastic change? Well, there could be several reasons. One, Mego may have only had a headshot as reference material. Former VP Neil Kublin said in interviews that they received a jumbled mass of references from Paramount that was less than helpful. Black and white stills, even kineoscopes of the show. There was also the possibility that they felt the robe would look too similar to the Keeper from the first wave of figures, and just sought to differentiate the outfits. The other thing we have to consider is that this is the middle 1970s, and Star Trek wasn't as revered as it is today. You don't have people who grew up on the lore working on the show. They may have seen the show, but are they diehard fans? I think that has a lot to do with his look. The Romulan. Like the Andorians, Romulans appeared more than once on this series and were mentioned quite often. They were the number 2 villains on the series next to the Klingons. The figure is clearly based on the classic episode Balance of Terror, and while the card art depicts the helmeted Decius, portrayed by actor Lawrence Montaigne, who would also play Vulcan Stan on the series, the head sculpt itself is a dead-on likeness of actor Mark Leonard, another actor to pull double duty as a Vulcan and a Romulan on the classic series. Even though Leonard's Romulan commander character didn't wear a helmet in this episode, it's likely that the sculptors chose him because Decius never took off his helmet, and they didn't know what he looked like underneath. As an aside, I met Mark Leonard in the late 1980s and got him to sign a card at Romulan. His exact words were, "What is this? I didn't get paid for this," which he repeated when I showed him at General Urko. I got the feeling I didn't make his day. The outfit is a nice, if mildly simplified version of the screen-worn outfit. It's been turned into a jumpsuit rather than that kind of spacey quasi-Roman toga on the series, but it works. It gets the point across. He comes with some great high boots, a red phaser and communicator, so you know he's a bad guy. And the jewel of his outfit is that beautiful vac metallized helmet. What a wonderful detail to add. They're a little tough to get off. I never take mine off. The Romulan is one of those must-haves if you're a vintage collector. It's Mego firing on all cylinders, and it's a pinnacle, which makes our next subject a bit of a step down. The Mugato, based on the second season episode A Private Little War. The Mugatu wasn't a sentient being like the other aliens, but a plot device monster that bites Captain Kirk, poisoning him with his venom. The Mugatu's look is essentially a well-made gorilla costume with a horn on his head. So Mego really took a different direction with the figure. First of all, he's orange-skinned, which he wasn't on the show. Secondly, he's on a regular Type 2 Mego body and not exhibiting that gorilla physique, so to speak. Third, he's wearing clothes. Groovy, frilly, disco-y clothes. We've asked many of the Mego design crew about this figure in the past, and I've come to one of two conclusions. One, they only had a shot of the Mugatu's head and improvised the rest. Two, to many of the Mego crew, this was an old TV series with cheap production values. Hate to say it, but one former Mego employee directly involved in this line said to me, "Have you ever watched some of these shows? They look pretty bad." So maybe they thought the Mugatu looked silly and decided to improve that by adding Sonny Bono's wardrobe selection. We'll never know. Anyway, there are highs and lows in the second wave, and the Mugatu is probably a low for most. I love it personally because it's crazy and toy-like and kind of looks like a Planet of the Apes knockoff, but mileage will vary from collector to collector. One thing to watch out for on the secondary market is the black from the belt does rub off on the tunic, causing a stain. Myths and rumors. I've mentioned this previously, but the biggest myth as to why these figures are so hard to find is this warehouse fire. And this story changes from time to time. It's sometimes a warehouse that caught fire, and other times it was a boat containing the inventory that caught fire, or a boat crashed into the warehouse and caught fire. None of this is true. The myth is spread by toy dealers from like the 80s, and it seems to have just been based on a warehouse fire that Mego subsidiary Samet and Wells had. They were the manufacturers of plush novelties for Mego, and some of the materials they used caught fire. This did not affect Mego's warehouse and did not affect the inventory of the Star Trek Aliens. The real reason these figures are hard to find is that Paramount asked Mego to pull the plug on classic series merchandise in anticipation for the new movie. That would have happened around 1978. So Mego just pumped the brakes after 3 years, and despite Star Trek being a moneymaker for them, they were anticipating that, that sweet movie money. And as we all know, that went super great. The second series, Star Trek Aliens, are usually on most vintage collectors' wanted lists and remain high demand items to this day. The other thing that really conflates it is they were only ever sold really in the United States and Canada, and then in somewhat limited quantities. They are a prime target for reproduction, and their legacy is vast, actually. MC Toys reproduced them first in the early 2000s, creating the Romulan, Andorian, and the Mugatu with Diamond Select. Mugato's re-release was still in his disco glory, even. According to Paul, Dr. Mego Clark, then head of MC Toys, he did pitch a more screen-accurate, fuzzy, suited Mugato to Diamond, but they passed in lieu of, Disco Man. He had it actually on display at Mego. When Mego reformed in 2018, and I still like saying that, the Romulan made another appearance, but in two different formats. There was just the straight-up reproduction of the classic Mego, and then a second, more screen-accurate version of the character, which was very nice, actually. Talos has never seen re-release. However, hope would spring eternal that Andorian, Mugato, and Talosian will be on store shelves once again in the very near future with a Mego logo. It would be really nice to see. I mean, there's an Andorian in the new Star Trek television series. The Mego second series Star Trek Aliens are some of my favorite figures. They're iconic, highly detailed, and most of all, they're really fun toys. And I think that description really sums up why I collect Mego. These embody what I love about Mego, these kind of like fun toys that have some screen accuracy. When I started collecting in the mid-'80s, these were like top priority for me to track down, and I still love them. I just really do. What do you think of the Mego Star Trek Aliens? Are you looking for the classic versions, or would you just prefer reproductions done in a new style? You can let me know in the comments below, or you can hit me up in our Facebook group, Mego Mania. Just a quick note, too, if you do like what I do, I have a magazine in its 6th issue right now, and a new book called Knockoffs, Totally Unauthorized Action Figures. That's a lot of fun. Both are available in my store, and the link is below. Thanks. That's it for this week, folks. Thank you as always for watching. If you're new to this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. We do this every week. Until next time, be well and talk toys, not others. Cheers.